If you've ever spent time in a British pub, especially in the older era when pubs were more local, more routine, and more rule-driven, you know this. The pub has its own language, not formal slang dictionaries, not internet phrases. A set of short, ordinary-sounding lines that carry hidden meaning. Because in Britain, people often communicate indirectly, polite, dry, understated. And in the pub, that style becomes a survival skill. You don't just say what you mean, you say it in a way that keeps the room calm. So today, we're doing 10 classic pub phrases Brits used all the time, the kind you heard every night in the 60s and 70s, and still hear echoes of today, and what they really meant. Some are funny, some are gentle, some are code for, please stop. And if you grew up around pubs, you'll recognise the tone instantly. You walk in, you feel the warmth, you hear the hum of voices, you smell beer and smoke and damp coats, and you stand at the bar. The first phrase comes before you even get served. 1. You all right? What it sounds like. A question about your well-being, what it really means in a pub. Hello, I acknowledge you. We can exist in the same space without drama. It doesn't require a full life update. The correct answer is usually, yeah, you. All right, not too bad. It's not therapy, it's social glue. Once you've got a drink, you're in the rhythm. Someone arrives late, drops into the group, and you hear phrase number 2. 2. Same again. What it sounds like, a simple order, what it really means. We're continuing the routine. We're staying. We're still together. In many British groups, same again is the moment the night becomes official. It often signals another round, another hour, another conversation. And the brilliance is that it's efficient. No speeches, just keep it going. Then comes a phrase that sounds harmless, but is actually a warning. 3. Steady on. What it sounds like, casual advice. What it really means, you're pushing it. Tone it down before you embarrass yourself. Steady on is British conflict prevention. It's a soft break. It can be said as a joke, but it's a real signal. The room is noticing, and you should slow down. Because pubs have an invisible line between banter and trouble. Steady on is how Britain guards that line without starting a fight. Now someone says something bold, maybe rude, maybe risky, and someone else responds with the most powerful British sound of all. 4. Oh! What it sounds like, a noise. What it really means, you've gone too far. Everyone heard that, and now you're in danger. That ooh is the pub's social referee whistle. It's not anger, it's collective judgment. It tells you instantly. The room has decided you're on thin ice. Now you reach the bar again, and someone tries to get served. There's a phrase that often appears from either the person waiting or someone else nearby. 5. Who's next? What it sounds like, polite organisation. What it really means, we are enforcing fairness here. Nobody's pushing in. British pubs often run without an obvious cue. So, who's next is the community checking itself. It's the pub saying, we might be drinking, but we're still civilised. And if someone tries to jump the line, this phrase becomes a quiet weapon. Because in a pub, fairness matters. Then there's the phrase people say when they've had enough, but don't want to announce a dramatic ending. 6. I'm going to make a move. What it sounds like, a plan. What it really means, I'm leaving. Don't try to stop me with one more drink. This is British exit language. It's not, I'm going now. It's not, goodbye everyone. It's a soft landing. I'm going to make a move. And once you say it, the ritual begins. Because British goodbyes are long, which is exactly why the phrase exists. It starts the leaving process early. Now we enter dangerous territory. The moment someone suggests the last one. 7. Just the one. What it sounds like, self-control. What it really means, this could be the beginning of a long night. Just the one is one of Britain's most famous lies. Sometimes it's true, if you've got work tomorrow, or the last bus is soon. But often, in pub culture, it's a doorway. The moment you say just the one, the pub starts pulling you in. The warmth, the talk, the rhythm, the rounds, and suddenly it's same again. Now you hear the phrase that defines entire nights out. 8. It's your round. What it sounds like, a reminder. What it really means, we've noticed. Don't be that person. The round system is the backbone of old pub culture. So, it's your round isn't just information. It's social accountability. It's usually said lightly, even jokingly, but the message is serious. We're keeping track, and we expect you to play fair, because nothing ruins pub trust faster than someone who drinks everyone else's money. Then there's the phrase that sounds friendly, but is actually a polite warning. 9. You've had enough. What it sounds like, judgment. What it really means, I'm saving you from yourself before this turns ugly. This phrase could come from a friend or from bar staff. In older pub culture, people sometimes intervened earlier. Not always kindly, not always perfectly. But the principle existed. Don't let someone cross the line where the night becomes trouble. You've had enough is a line drawn in the sand. And if it comes from the landlord or landlady, it's not a debate. Because the pub had authority, and keeping order mattered more than pleasing one customer. Finally, we reach the phrase that ends the whole night. 10. Last orders. What it sounds like, an announcement. What it really means, the pub is closing, the ritual is ending. Time to choose, one last drink or home. In the older era especially, last orders had weight. It changed the room. People looked up, conversation shifted. A final rush to the bar happened. Friends negotiated. Quick one? Go on then. No, I'm working. And after that, the pub didn't just fade into the night. It closed properly. The night had a shape. And when you walked out into the cold air, the world felt different, quieter, sharper, more real. That's why last orders is more than a phrase. It's a cultural ending. Now here's what all these phrases have in common. They're not just words, they're tools. British pub language is designed to do 3 things. 1. Keep the atmosphere stable. 2. Prevent conflict without starting a scene. 3. Make social life smooth in a crowded room full of strangers. That's why the phrases are short. That's why they're indirect. That's why they're often funny. Because humour and understatement are Britain's way of managing tension. So, when you hear steady on, it's not just a joke. When you hear who's next, it's not just politeness. When you hear it's your round, it's not just maths. It's a whole culture running quietly underneath the pints. And if you grew up around that culture, these phrases still hit you like a soundtrack. Because you don't just remember the words, you remember the room, the warmth, the glasses, the murmur, the laughter, the moment the door opens and cold air rushes in, the coat pile on the chair, the sound of darts, the look from the landlord if someone got too loud. It wasn't perfect, but it was a system. And people understood it.